Welcome to the Empowered Entrepreneur Show. Discover your life's purpose, reprogram your mind for success, and attract an abundance of paying clients to your business. Now, here's your host, Tom Tenaglia.
Aloha, Empowered Entrepreneur. I am Tom Tenaglia, and you're listening to the Empowered Entrepreneur Show.
And in this episode, I want to share a little bit about a customer service experience that I experienced as a customer with a company that I just won't do business with again. So a few months ago, I was looking for a piece of office equipment, and I a couple of lessons learned out of this is I always say to, remember to be calm, centered, and balanced, to be pono, and I was going through a series of things in my life at the time where, in hindsight, the moment where I placed the order for this equipment, I wasn't pono. And the effect of it had a ripple effect into the whole process of working with this company. So I ordered a piece of office equipment. Their website said, hey, you know what, due to the pandemic, there's some delays, blah, blah, blah. Okay, cool. They weren't specific. I got an email from them that indicated the estimated shipping times for the product. Followed up with them after those shipping times. Their email was not very customer service focused. It was like, there are delays due to our website, and it went, and the tone in it was very mild, like not very harsh, but mildly harsh. And I'm like, okay, maybe I just misunderstood. But I mean, their email did say such and such a time, and it wasn't here. I'm like, okay. They did answer my question. They told me roughly when it was expected to ship. I'm like, okay, fine. So, I get 2 months after the order, the item shows up, and it shows up defective. I message them. They give me some steps to see if they could fix the item, and they then asked me for a video of the defect. I provided that. I'm probably going to miss a few exchanges in here in the explanation, but we went back and forth, and they told me that somebody from their support team would call me the following. They gave me a date, and then I emailed them the day after that and said, nobody contacted me. What are we doing here? Basically, just asking them, very polite the whole way. And then they, I said, like, here's what it's doing. Let's, is there any way that I could just get that part replaced or whatever? And they were like, well, you just need to do this. I'm like, well, send me a video that shows me how to do it. We don't have one. And I'm like, well, okay. So you asked for a video from me. You're not able to, I don't know what you're talking about in terms of what you want me to do here. I've had this type of this exact office equipment before from a different vendor. I've never seen this problem before. I'm pretty sure it's just defective. And then they sent me over to the returns department, and I asked the returns department to please confirm, how long it takes from the time you get the product back to issue an exchange. They had ignored that question, and initially at least. And, they said, oh, it's got to be in the original box and blah, blah, blah. Please send us a photo that you have it packaged in the original box so we can send you a label. And I'm like, okay. So I did all that. I had the original box, and, and then I re-asked my question of, please, how long is it from the time that you get the item? Their response was, we don't ship out a replacement until we receive the one back. I'm like, I realized that. I wanted to know how long after you receive it. And they're like, within 48 business hours, but that's going to be dependent upon whether we have it in stock. So I'm like, well, can you confirm that the piece that I'm sending back, that you have that one in stock? Because I had to wait 2 months to get the first time. And they said, well, we can't guarantee what's going to be, what our supply will be, by the time we receive your item. And I'm like, oh, gee, can we refund? Let's just refund it then. And like, I didn't want to say that, but I did want to say it at the time I had to say it. What I wanted to keep was the item. The item was, it was priced about half price of what the item would cost directly from the manufacturer. And it's actually priced at what they went for probably about 10 or so years ago. And so at first glance, so first of all, I didn't realize the manufacturer had pretty much doubled the price of these items. And second of all, I was just thinking that, yeah, that's a pretty reasonable price because that's pretty much what I paid for a similar, pretty much the same item, about a decade ago. And so I didn't think anything of it, and in hindsight, I'm like, wait a minute, how are they able to do this, right? So, right now we're in the process of, okay, the item's going back, and hopefully I'll get my refund, and we'll go from there. But I was asking them, then I asked them, they said, yes, we can do a refund if that's what you want. And I'm like, yeah, but can you confirm that will also be within 48 hours of receiving the chair? And then they said yes, and that was the last email they were going to send me, because they have a few just like limited staff and they have a ton of emails to answer. And I'm paraphrasing, but not by much. That I could read the exact email, and I was looking at it going, this is really interesting, because this is the opposite of any type of customer service that I would ever want. Like, it took me 3 emails to get them to answer the same question on how long it would take them to ship the item after they received it. They didn't even read the email, and they didn't answer the question. And so 3 emails could have been saved by just having them answer the question, right? Or 2 emails, because they could have answered it on the first email. And because I had to wait 2 months, like, there's just no recognition of what the customer experience is, right? So my experience, I had to wait 2 months for this item, and they told me support would contact me such and such a date. They never did. Like, so I'm spending all this time trying to get these things worked out, and I'm getting no help whatsoever. No recognition, we're sorry for the inconvenience, nothing. So then I just go, you know what? I'm going to go and look up reviews from this company. And what I found was actually quite a bit disturbing. It was stuff I probably should have looked up first, and realized that the company was actually selling open box items, meaning like refurbished or used, and that pretty much most of their customers had reported defects. And in addition to that, the company was not an official distributor of the items that they were selling, or at least the item that I purchased. I eventually went through digging on their website, and I didn't look directly on the page of the same item that I purchased, but on other pages there are annotations that indicate that, but they're in very small print. I read the terms, and I even before I had purchased, I always look at what are the refund policies and stuff like that, and I didn't really think anything of it, because I didn't see anything about the fact that this was considered open box, or the fact that they weren't an official distributor, and the fact that a ton of people, had very similar problems. Because I was just giving the example of, I believe this is defective. Like, I've had this product before. Like, this isn't how this works. Like, this product works differently. And, it was a very interesting customer experience. But I'm like, wait a minute, you're going to tell me that's the last email you're sending? Like, okay, then just don't respond to it until tomorrow. Why even why even say it? You know, you literally said, I mean absolutely nothing because you have a ton of customers in your queue. Well, no kidding, because your products are defective, in my opinion. Right? So, of course, you're going to have a ton of customers. I mean, whose fault is it that there's little staff on the emails and you have defective products? So, it really got me thinking, and I said, okay, what do I need to learn from this? And I always look at fractals. I always look at how the answer to everything is in the smallest thing. And the way I was treated when I had just inquired about my email, about my order, was enough, and I probably should have seen it beforehand. I don't normally Google or search for companies before I buy. I just don't. I don't normally do it. This was what I thought. I actually thought I was buying a new version of the product and that they were an official distributor. I did truly think that. And so that's why I was extremely surprised. And then when I started looking, I realized, wait a minute, the manufacturer's selling this item at twice the price. And the complaints from this other company that people had with this other company were along the same lines of my own complaint. And I realized, okay, wait a minute. The reason why the company wasn't really helping me to feel like a good customer is because they literally are dealing with this every single day. They're dealing with these defects and these problems. And my guess is the people who are getting the customer inquiries are probably not satisfied with their job. That would be my guess in my own opinion. Because they're just not being people. And so I looked at it and I said, you know what? I in hindsight, the lesson is to slow down a little bit and to have done my due diligence to make sure that where I'm ordering from is where I think I'm ordering from, and that what I'm ordering is what I think I'm getting. I mean, based on the page and all the details, that's what it looked like. It looked like it was a legit distributor selling a brand new product. And I was very, very surprised that isn't what it was. And I wouldn't have even known if there wasn't a defect in the one that I got. Like, I was thinking, okay, wait a minute. If I point out this defect, maybe it's something their quality control team can check to make sure that it's not that type of defect, going out anymore, and that they would be responsive in that way and that they would care, right? So I just said, okay, I want to take these lessons and apply them into my business and realize the type of work that I want to do and the type of clients that I want to have and the way that I want to go about this. Ultimately, this will get resolved, and if there's more of an issue, I mean, who knows? Based on the fractal, it's possible that they'll give me a runaround once they try to process the return. I don't know. And it was a fairly expensive piece of office equipment. It would be a decent lesson, if I was out that money. But a lesson worth having, I think, because these are the ways that we learn and grow, and the whole experience happened to get the lesson. I should not have rushed into the purchase. I certainly shouldn't have done it when I was just upset at something else. It was right before I was, taking some travel, and there are a few other things going on. And I just said, this is ridiculous. I just want to get a new one of these. And I went and I bought it. And, I didn't really do my due diligence on that, which is not common, other than I don't really search for reviews of companies, because there's always positive and negative reviews. I literally just typed in the name of this company, space reviews, into Google, and the amount of stuff that I saw, I actually do, in hindsight, wish I had done that, because the front page told me everything I needed to know. And so I don't want to mention the company. I don't believe in doing that, because I do believe that people can have other experiences with them. I just think that if you do your due diligence and if you slow down in your decision making when you're making larger purchases like that, that you can really prevent, what I had occur. And the emails just got progressively more. They're like, well, if you can't do blah 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 blah, then fine, we'll blah 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 blah. And I'm like, wait, what? Like the tone of it was so off, and like from different people, from the person who was answering about the order, to the support person over email, to no apology, no, we're sorry that the support person didn't get back to you, blah blah blah. They told me the date that he or she was going to contact me, and I didn't get anything. And then that last email on this is the last email we're going to send you. If you have more questions, email us tomorrow. I'm like, what? Like, all I've done was be very nice about it. And I just realized, well, if I need any other reasons to no longer do business with them and to just, get a refund for this item, and then just buy it directly from the manufacturer. I buy a lot of things directly from the manufacturer. I bought a brand new cell phone directly from the manufacturer the day that the manufacturer released it. There's a lot of things, that I buy. I have no problem buying from distributors either. But when they're not an official distributor and their marketing and their website makes me think that they are, just from the way they're positioning things, and they're actually selling used stuff. I don't buy used stuff usually. Very rarely do I buy something that's been used. And that's the reason, because I know often the rigmarole that I have to go through, and it's just worth the buying of the new item. There are times where I've bought a couple of used things that worked out, and there were times where it just not what I ever wanted to do. And so with my due diligence, though, buying something that's used, if it makes sense, fine. But it's rare. It's rare for me to do that. So this was like, I wanted to buy a brand new. The whole point of replacing the old one that I have was to buy a new one, right? So I don't want to buy a used one because I have a used one, It's like I want to buy a new one. It was part of putting the energy in, hey, it's time to upgrade this a little bit, or it's time to put the energy into something new, something that's going to make an impact in my business and that's going to be good for me to do. So, just consider the customer service that you provide, what your business stands for, the values, and the people that you hire. Because it's possible the owner knows this is going on. It's also possible the owner doesn't know what's going on. And so really consider, the people that you hire. But I don't think I had any positive, supporting, caring customer service in any of the emails that I had with them. And I just kept trying to be as calm and positive and inquisitive back, to really ask these questions to better understand. I had to ask one question at a time because I didn't read my email, where I gave them what they needed and I asked a question, they didn't answer my question. So I had to respond with the question, but I had to learn to just ask them one at a time. They didn't even answer the question when I wrote it as one question, when I said, how long after you receive it do you send out the next one? They just said, we don't send out the next one until we receive the one back. So when it's the only sentence, I think I said, okay, period. And then I asked the question. So when it's the only thing in there and they're not even reading it there, they're not putting any attention into it. They're not even focusing on the customer. So there's so many lessons here, right? There's just so many lessons. There's the business lessons, and then there's the consumer lessons, right? So it's helping me understand, okay, I need to do my due diligence. Wait a minute. If this is half price, maybe I should have emailed them and said, how are you charging half price what the manufacturer's charging? Is this a brand new direct from manufacturer product. Although I didn't even know to ask the latter question because I didn't know people even sell these quote unquote open box things. I didn't even know, right? So I was led to believe that I was buying a brand new item from a company that was a legit distributor. But anyway, so learn from those lessons, both on the business side and on the client side. And I'm sure this will all work out. And if not, in one way or another, it was a lesson. If I spent the money to get the lesson, it was a lesson worth getting. And so that's the way I like to look at these things. And I make podcasts to help share those lessons with you as well. So a little bit different than some of the previous ones, but good nonetheless. And with that, aloha, ahuiho. I'll talk with you again soon. Take care.
Thank you for listening to the Empowered Entrepreneur Show.